The Houston Rockets have gotten off to a great start this offseason. They started the offseason off with a bang, hiring Ime Udoka to fill the head coach job. And we all know that Coach Ime Udoka is a great head coach. We saw what he did with Boston just a year ago, created them a great defensive identity, and he also got them to the 2022 NBA Finals. And also, I like what the Houston Rockets did in this year's draft. I felt like with the roster that they have right now and the pieces that they have on this team, getting the 4th overall and the 20th overall pick puts them in a great position to make their team a lot better. And after watching the two guys that they did select with these 2 picks, I feel like that the Houston Rockets are the winners from the 2023 NBA draft. And of course, you can make a case for the San Antonio Spurs because they did get Victor Wembanyama, but for right now, I'm going to go with the Houston Rockets. Before we get into who the Houston Rockets drafted at the 2023 NBA draft, I want to take a quick moment to talk about some of the things that I feel like they can improve on going into the offseason and going into the 2023 draft. One thing that I've noticed from watching the Houston Rockets last season is that they've created a bad habit of taking some pretty bad shots, and I really think that stems from not having a true floor general or a true point guard on the team. And we can look at Alperen Sengun, who is steadily improving as a playmaker. He had some great games distributing the basketball last season, but he's not at that level to be like a Nikola Jokic, to be a point center and fully run the offense. Same thing with Kevin Porter Jr., who is the actual point guard for the Houston Rockets, or who was the point guard for the Houston Rockets last season. He probably averaged somewhere between 5 and 6 assists per game, and he'll have a night where he's also feeling it, reading the defense really well, and he could finish with 10, 11 assists, but it's just not a natural part of his game, and we all know that he's more of a scorer. So I think the Houston Rockets, they should have been coming into this draft looking to add some additional playmaking to this team, and also another area that they desperately need to improve on is defense, perimeter defense, and also interior defense. And the Houston Rockets, the crazy thing about it, I feel like they have some guys on their team that can be transcendent defenders. The 2 guys I'm talking about specifically is Jabari Smith and Tari Eason. I feel like with the body and the size and the athleticism that those 2 guys possess, they could be a crazy defensive tandem. But I feel like this team needs a little bit more of a defensive presence because it was easy to score the basketball against them last season. And then also something that every team could always use is more shooting. So we have defending, playmaking, and 3-point shooting. So with that being said, we can now talk about who the Houston Rockets decided to go with in this year's NBA draft. And with the 4th pick from the 2023 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets, they went and selected Amen Thompson, one of the very popular Thompson twins from the Overtime Elite League. And that league is actually one of the bigger question marks about Amen Thompson, just because it's kind of a brand new thing, and I didn't know too much about it until the hype of the Thompson twins, and I did look into it a little bit. But it's a league that's based in Atlanta right now. I think they only have 6 teams, and the age range is between 16 and 20 years old. So that's a bit of a question mark that everyone has had, is about the level of competition that those guys had in their journey to the NBA. But one thing we can't question is that him and his brother Amen and Asor, they have great upside and they have great talent. And we're gonna look more specifically at Amen Thompson, the one that the Houston Rockets have drafted. He plays the point guard position, and you gotta love him right off the bat because he has supreme size and athleticism, just 2 things that you can't really teach to anyone. And I feel like he's the type of athletic that is just, it's just a God-given talent because he can do some crazy things. And then also with his size, you can't teach size. He's 6'7", around 205 pounds, and he has a 7-foot wingspan. So we made our little checklist earlier in the video about where the Houston Rockets can improve. We talked about playmaking, we talked about interior and perimeter defense, and we also talked about 3-point shooting. shooting. Now, Amen Thompson, he checks off two of the things on this list. He checks off playmaking, and he definitely checks off defense. And just watching him in the Overtime Elite League, he was a full-time point guard, and he's just a great decision maker. And both him and his brother, they process the game really well. His brother is more of a wing, but Amen, he's more of a point guard and more of a floor general. He does a great job of making the right decision in both transition and half-court situations. He's great in the pick and roll when it comes to making reads, and I'm just really excited to see some of these guys on the Houston Rockets play alongside a player that's actually accustomed to making people around him better. Just look at guys like Alperen Sengun. He's the center on the team. Every big man loves to get spoon-fed some easy buckets. Jabari Smith, he's going to get a lot of easier looks with Amen Thompson putting pressure on defenses. And he's going to get some easy three-point shots. And then Jalen Green, I look for him to thrive off playing alongside Amen Thompson too. Look for him to get some easier off-ball buckets, because when we look at the Houston Rockets and their offense over the last 2 seasons, they don't really have a go-to play. There's a lot of improvising, a lot of pick and roll, and a lot of isolation. And when you're a player like Jalen Green and you're trying to ISO, it's really hard because people have to respect your teammates, or they're just going to overly help. And I think that's where some of the bad shot selection comes from him individually. Is just that it's not really a good flow on the offensive side of the ball. So I think Amen Thompson can help with that and with his playmaking ability. And then also there's other things he brings to the game of basketball on the offensive side of the ball. He knows how to score. The best part of his offensive game is probably his ability to get to the rim and finish around the rim. We talked about his supreme athleticism. It allows him to be a great finisher. He can finish with the left, he can finish with the right, he can contort his body to make some pretty freaky layups, and he can also get up and punch it on you. And just one area that he can improve on offensively. And he's not the perfect prospect, but who's the perfect prospect? Everyone has something that they can improve on, and for Amen Thompson, it's his three-point shooting. If he can become a consistent three-point shooter, he's going to be a very, very dangerous player. But nonetheless, I like what he brings to the table on the offensive side of the ball. And the same thing defensively. He's 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, and you gotta love it because he's an active defender. And in the Overtime Elite League, he had a defensive identity. So we talked about the Rockets bringing guys to the teams that have that defensive identity. And when you have someone who's quick on his feet, athletic, and then they have the size and the wingspan to go along with it, the Houston Rockets can use him in a bunch of different ways. They can use him at the point of the attack on the opposing player bringing up the ball for the other team. They can use him on weak side as a helper. He's gonna be able to rotate and affect shots at the rim. And then also, if you want to run switch everything, the Houston Rockets, they have a bunch of wings that can play some great defense. They have Tari Eason, they have Jabari Smith, they have Cam Whitmore as well. All these guys can, and I kind of just spoiled the 20th overall pick as if you guys didn't know, but they have a bunch of guys who can play some perimeter defense. So I think they're going to be able to use Amen Thompson in so many different ways on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. And I think this is exactly what the Houston Rockets needed out of their 4th overall pick. So I'll have to give the Houston Rockets an A+ for selecting Amen Thompson, and I also give them an A+ for the selection they made with their 20th overall pick, and that was Cam Whitmore. And the crazy thing, or what makes it so special that the Houston Rockets were able to get Cam Whitmore, is because that he was supposed to be a lottery pick, and the Rockets were actually considering taking him at number 4. And on draft night, I was so confused onto why Cam Whitmore, why he kept consistently getting patched up and fell all the way down to number 20. I just did some reading, and it's because of his medical injury. It had nothing to do with talent, but apparently he has some knee problems that could be detrimental to his NBA career. But nonetheless, the Houston Rockets, they decided to still take a risk on him with their secondary pick, and you can't be mad at it, especially when you've already gotten a crazy talent like Amen Thompson. But when it comes to Cam Whitmore, he brings so much to the game of basketball. Just like Amen Thompson, one of the things that makes him so special special is his supreme size and athleticism. He's coming into the NBA with an NBA ready body. He's 6'7", 230 pounds. I love his game on both sides of the ball. Offensively, he has a quick first step that makes it very difficult for bigger guys to stay in front of him. And we already talked about his size and frame. When he has a smaller player on him, he has no problem taking that guy to the low block and just using his size and strength to his advantage. He also serves as a great cutter and a great lob threat. And in college, he wasn't the best three-point shooter, but I saw a stat on catch and shoot threes. He shot 34% from the field, so it's not the best and it's not the worst. And I think it's something that Cam Whitmore can definitely improve on. I feel like with today's trainers and today's team development staffs, shooting is something that can always continue to get better. And then on the defensive side of the ball, he's great at the point of attack. He's a switchable guy. He has a great wingspan as well, and he just adds to the collection of wing defenders that the Houston Rockets now have. And we look at all the wings that they have that can play great perimeter defense. We have Jabari Smith, we have Tari Eason, we have Amen Thompson, and now we have Cam Whitmore. You can also throw Kenyon Martin Jr. in there. So the only thing that I'm looking at with drafting Cam Whitmore is that it is a lot of competition at the wing spot, so I feel like there's definitely going to be some battle for the minutes there, and we don't know how that could develop or stunt his growth. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Ime Udoka makes it work with these groups of guys, because he does have a lot of talent on his team and he does have a lot of pieces, and I'm really intrigued on how he tries to put it together. But that's going to be it for today's video. And the reason I'm calling the Houston Rockets, outside of the Houston Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs, the winners of the draft, is because that they were able to go in and basically get 2 lottery picks for the price of 1. So it was a great job by them. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and let me know who would have preferred the Houston Rockets to draft if you do disagree. And then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.